right now on 5 on your side at 10.
High heat and humidity means Tuesday is a weather impact alert day. Why this bout of heat won't be hanging around for long.
We're just hours away from primary day in Missouri, the candidate's last push for votes. First, she's in a fight to keep her seat in the U.S. House. Tonight, new audio reveals Congresswoman Bush's plea to her staff to stick by her side.
If I stop, then they win. If I stop, St. Louis don't get what they need.
It is leaked audio you will only hear on 5 on your side. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kelly Jackson.
And I'm Mike Bush. The recording from January is from inside Congresswoman Bush's office. The release comes just one day before voters in Missouri's first congressional district head to the polls to decide between the two-term incumbent or her challenger, Wesley Bell, in the Democratic primary. Our political editor, Mark Maxwell, obtained that audio, and he joins us now with what's on that call. Mark?
What you're about to hear is Congresswoman Bush confessing to her inner circle people might think it's a little messed up, in her words, that she paid her husband with campaign funds. And you'll hear her pleading with them to stick by her side as the Department of Justice opens a criminal investigation into those payments.
The history-making moment that we are in the middle of, do we run from it because it's tough, because they're throwing all of this stuff at us? Or do we push through and walk through it and come out on the other side victorious for the people who need us the most?
Congresswoman Bush insisted to her staff her campaign's payments to her husband were not illegal after the Office of Congressional Ethics dismissed one complaint.
But that did not stop the DOJ from picking it up, too, because they had already received back in August or July, whenever that article came out, that person not only reached out to the House, they also reached out to the DOJ and all of these other groups. And so that's where the DOJ one comes from.
She acknowledged the Justice Department complaint came in the summer of 2023, but suggested she was under fire for comments she wouldn't make for another 2 months in October.
There are people who are very, very angry with us, powerful people who are angry with us because we said ceasefire.
Then she floated another theory contradicting that one. Maybe the whole investigation was just propped up to insulate President Biden from Republican critics.
This person who is a right-wing Trumper type deal, if this person asked the DOJ to open this investigation, and if the DOJ would have said no, then this person could have come back and said the DOJ didn't do this because she's a Democrat and the president is a Democrat, and it's just to cover for Democrats.
Then she compared the government's investigation into her campaign spending to J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI's covert operations to spy on communists and discredit Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Just remember, think about how many folks was actually with Dr. King when Dr. King was doing all the things that he was doing. How many folks turned away from him when the FBI came at him? It's the same type of tactics. If we can throw mud on your name, if we can get you caught up in spending money, if we can get you in a place to where you tired and people don't trust you no more, and all of this, if I can ruin your credibility, then we can ruin you. And then you no longer will be in that seat, and we can put who we want there.
Those efforts to keep staff on board were ultimately unsuccessful. 3 more staffers left Bush's office in the last 6 weeks alone. She's now down to just 1 staffer on her legislative team, and her office is not actively hiring any replacements. Also, a quick note on the timing of this report. So close to the election tomorrow, the Washington Post was first to report on the existence of this audio this morning. We obtained a copy just today and ultimately made the decision that it was in the public interest and that holding on to it until after the election would only be a disservice to voters.
The Republicans running for governor crisscrossed Missouri today in a final push to get out the vote. Lieutenant Governor Mike Keogh rallied police and firefighters with his closing arguments in St. Peter's tonight. Our cameras caught up with State Senator Bill Eigel in between stops at an airport.
Well, I'm the anti-establishment candidate. I'm the one with a vision of a stronger Missouri, and I've got the backbone and the conservative track record to actually implement this down in Jefferson City.
We definitely know how to govern. 35 years in small business, created hundreds of jobs in my small business career. Neither one of those 2 guys have ever done that or anything like that. They don't know what it's like to solve problems and move Missouri forward. I do, and I'm ready to go.
Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft rallied his supporters with former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee in southwest Missouri. The polls open tomorrow at 6 a.m. They close at 7 p.m. We put together a complete voter guide on KSDK.com. You can also text the word guide to 314-425-5355, and we'll send you a link.
A hot and humid night in St. Louis. A heat advisory tomorrow has us in a weather impact alert tonight. Let's get straight over to Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell.
And unlike many times when we see the heat break, this go round, we're not expecting big thunderstorms to come along with it later tomorrow. It is still a very warm night across the bi-state area, despite mainly clear skies, still 87 degrees now. Today, our heat index values were around 101, 105. Tomorrow, between noon and 6, they're climbing into that 103 to 108 degree range, which impacts anybody without effective cooling. So try to spend some time in the air conditioning. Make sure you're drinking lots of water tomorrow, and definitely stay hydrated throughout the day. And, try to stay out of the sun too. These are your forecast heat index values tomorrow afternoon. Above 100, and in the metro area along that front as it approaches up to 108 degrees. Doesn't last for long. More on that in a few minutes, Mike.
Tonight, the mayor and other city leaders are responding after about 40 inmates escaped their cells at the St. Louis City Justice Center.
It happened yesterday, just 3 days after a major state audit was released detailing problems inside the jail. 5 on your side, Laura Barcheski is live with the latest on this.
Mike and Kelly, everyone from former sheriff's deputies to the mayor's office themselves say things have to change with inside the City Justice Center, and there's a lot more work that needs to be done, and none of these feelings are really new. The St. Louis Department of Public Safety says around 7 a.m. Sunday, dozens of detainees were out of their cells, sitting at tables and even on the floor. City Justice Center staff had to use pepper spray and other undisclosed tactics to get them back in their cells, which took about 2.5 hours.
My first response is trying to make sure that their health and safety and well-being was taken care of. And as I am aware, we were able to resolve the issue and there were no severe injuries.
Just 3 days before the incident, former Sheriff's Deputy Alfred Montgomery raised concerns over what he called excessive use of pepper spray when it's not necessary.
We've seen a lot of that going on, and it actually affected the employees there at the jail as well, and also some of the sheriffs, because it's constantly mace being sprayed on those detainees when they're not following direction instead of just not being combative.
The incident stopped prisoner processing for hours. This all happened 3 years after the city spent $1.5 million to fix the jail's locking system. Alderman Rasheen Aldridge is not surprised.
It's unprecedented what's happening over and over and over what we see. I think I've called for it and other members have called for new leadership at the jail and just a complete deep dive of what the problems are and how do we all work together to fix them.
He hopes 2 companion bills signed by the mayor last week will fix jail access problems for the oversight board, elected officials, and even attorneys trying to get to their clients.
I mean, it's beyond problematic at that point when you're not allowing somebody due process.
Any jail employee who denies attorneys access could face a fine of up to $500. Aldridge says consulting other counties could be part of the solution.
They also had situations at St. Louis County Jail once upon a time, and they've seen to figure out what the problem was.
The Detention Facilities Oversight Board Chair, Reverend Darrell Gray, says they plan to request the full internal incident report so they can continue their investigation. Reporting live downtown, Laura Barcheski, 5 on your side.
With just 2 weeks until school starts, local leaders are calling for an in-depth look into St. Louis public schools. Mayor Tashara Jones and State Representative Rachel Prouty are asking for a state audit. Now the state auditor is coming to St. Louis Thursday to discuss the requests. Mayor Jones says the district began last year with a surplus budget of $17 million, and now it has a projected deficit of $35 million.
Let no one talk you out of the processes and procedures for accountability, because at the end of the day, it is your money, it is your children.
The district also faces transportation issues due to a bus driver shortage. A meeting on their transportation plan is scheduled for tomorrow.
Tonight, St. Louis police are looking for a pair of armed robbers who targeted several people and cars in the Grove overnight. New tonight, Robert Townsend tells us the crimes happened after patrons left a nightclub.
Neighbors say on most nights, this parking lot here on Manchester in the Grove is usually packed with cars. That was the case when police say early Monday, several people became victims of crimes. Investigators say shortly after 1, a man said he left a nightclub and spotted 2 guys tampering with a car in the parking lot. He said the strangers then robbed him at gunpoint. Police say a second man who was with the victim said the same guys assaulted him. A source tells 5 on Your Side the guy was pistol whipped and the crimes happened after both victims left Prism nightclub. While investigating the robbery and assault, police say a third man approached officers and reported his car had been rummaged through and a window shattered. Police say no items were taken.
Thank goodness no one was seriously injured, and hopefully soon we can put this behind us, yeah.
There are many security cameras here in this popular district, including these from the Real-Time Crime Center. St. Louis police will be checking all images in hopes of catching those criminals. Meantime, they're asking if you know anything about these crimes to call Crime Stoppers. Robert Townsend, 5 on Your Side.
Guns getting into the wrong hands.
It's something that we're seeing a drastic increase of.
Tonight, the I-Team reveals the challenges of federal law enforcement to get stolen guns off the streets.
We would always caution everyone to secure their firearms.
The heat and humidity peak on our Weather Impact Alert Tuesday. What happens, though, for the next 7 days after that? We'll have you breathing a sigh of relief.
Federal agents are in a race against time to get guns used in crimes off the streets before they're used again.
Tonight, the I-Team's Paula Vassan sits down with the St. Louis ATF to explore the challenges they face and the emerging trends making these weapons even more dangerous.
In the fight against gun crime, removing stolen guns from the streets is critical. It's a daunting task.
All these guns here were seized off the streets of St. Louis.
Shannon Ham with St. Louis's Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, or ATF, gives us an up-close look at their process, from canines to new deadly devices.
It's something that we're seeing a drastic increase of.
These illegal devices convert semi-automatic firearms into fully automatic ones, making them even more dangerous.
It's not just a local problem. We see this throughout the country.
Addressing gun crime is not easy. In the U.S., it's estimated there's about one gun stolen every 90 seconds.
There's a maze of complications that often makes figuring out where they came from impossible. Federal law only requires licensed gun stores to keep records. The vast majority of stolen guns are taken from homes and cars, from people not required by federal law to keep records or report guns stolen.
We would always caution everyone to secure their firearms.
There's no way to track down how many guns a person owns because federal law prohibits the ATF from creating a centralized database. It forces agents to take extra steps to solve crimes.
We're having to go from the manufacturer to the person who possesses it and trying to figure out what happened in between that.
For now, the fight against gun crime remains an uphill battle with increasingly deadly firearms and a series of hurdles to track them down. For the I-Team, Paula Vassan, 5 on Your Side.
If you have a tip for Paula, leave a voice message. The number's 314-444-5231 or send an email to pvazan@ksdk.com. All calls and correspondence will be kept confidential.
All right, let's check back with Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell with the latest on tomorrow's Weather Impact Alert Day, and the heat is on.
The heat is on, but unlike last week, instead of having 4 or 5 days where we have heat index values above 100 and quite a bit above 100, we have one day tomorrow where the heat's bad. And it's really during the lunch hour and through the early evening. Heat index tomorrow in St. Louis, 2, 3, 4 o'clock. You're talking 107, 108 degrees. That's when we're concerned as we go into tomorrow afternoon. And from 12 until 6 o'clock tomorrow, that's when the heat will be most dangerous. Again, that impacts anybody that doesn't have access to air conditioning. Maybe you know a senior who's had some trouble with their air conditioning, maybe having trouble paying that bill. CoolDownStLouis.org, an easy way for you to help them out and also for them to get help as we try to keep our seniors safe, staying hydrated, out of the sun, and in the air as much as possible. Here is your heat advisory for noon until 6 on Tuesday. It includes the St. Louis area, as you would expect. And this picture from Jill from our 5 on Your Side weather watchers just screams summertime, doesn't it? Over at Cal Suite headquarters. We're looking at the humidity increasing tomorrow. High temperatures are going to be about the same, but it's that humidity and that subtle increase that will tick those heat indices up. So why is that happening? Well, we have a front up to our north. A little bubble of high pressures kind of kept us quiet the last couple of days. Of course, down in the south, we look in the southeast and we have Tropical Storm Debbie. So Debbie is a big focus focus for the southeast. Georgia into South Carolina. Some of these coastal areas here may end up with 2 feet or more of rainfall. For us, it will stay dry tomorrow. The showers and storms are going to stay to our north. That's where the focus for the energy is, and we stay on the toasty side tomorrow. And with that front approaching, the humidity creeps up ahead of it in St. Louis. 87 right now. The dew point's back up to 70, so it feels like it's 92. We made it up to 98 today. We don't get a lot of relief overnight tonight, dropping back into the 70s. Let's get you into tomorrow. We're tracking that front north and west of St. Louis. Should start with pretty bright skies. Then during the afternoon hours, as that front approaches, we'll start to see the wind switch more to the west-northwest. Low to mid 90s by early afternoon, mid to upper 90s for the high. Late in the day into tomorrow evening, some clouds roll in. That's when the drier air will start to filter in. Dew points tomorrow pretty miserable in the 70s, but by Thursday, they back off to around 50 degrees. It makes a huge difference in how things feel. Plus, it's also going to be a little bit at or below average temperature-wise on your high temperatures. So we have our weather impact alert for your Tuesday. Upper 90s, heat index values tomorrow could be dangerously hot in that time frame from about noon until 6 o'clock. After that, the rest of the week looks really quiet. And through the entire 7-day forecast, mainly dry weather. That's unusual, too.
I know that is. Thank you, Scott. That looks fantastic. Karate made its Olympic debut at the 2020 Tokyo Games, but it is not on the program in Paris or LA in 2028.
That's not stopping a Metro East teen from excelling in martial arts. Brent Solomon has his story in tonight's Practice to Podium.
Let's try it again.
Control.
That's it.
Consistency. Commitment. 3 C's this 16-year-old has already mastered.
He has definitely been showing an over amount of dedication that most students don't. Good.
Jeremiah Hall has a goal in mind.
Once I started doing this, this gave me more confidence.
To be the best version of himself.
If I'm too fast, he can't even respond to that.
7th degree black belt and Hall of Famer Ali Mosea is helping him get there.
We call us scholars and warriors. So the scholar sits above the warrior because you always think first. So when we have that aspect and then they start to visualize a win or visualize winning the Olympics, it starts here. Meditative stance.
They train 3 to 4 times a week. It begins with meditation.
Breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth.
Which paves the way to excel in Taekwondo.
Let's go.
And Judo, a form of jiu-jitsu.
Hands up.
2 sports featured in the Paris Olympics.
It's like where you can bring combos.
The Belleville West High student started when he was a young kid, just out of curiosity. Even he's surprised by how far he's come. Take a look as he takes on an older challenger who he happens to know well.
When I'm out there, I'm hoping that he doesn't beat me up. So that's why I took it as well.
Bernard Hall started out simply taking his son to lessons. Now he's inspired to get in on the action too.
I think man, if I hit him too hard, what if I get grounded or something?
That's not the plan. Dad just wants to see his teen come out on top.
The sky's the limit. Anything can happen, man. You know what I'm saying? When you put his heart and mind to it, anything can happen.
Bring your feet together. I greet you in brotherly or sisterly love.
Brent Solomon, 5 on your side.
Hall has gotten so good, he's now helping teach classes at the Karate Club.
And the school is now preparing him to represent them in upcoming tournaments.
This may be the most down I've been on the Cardinal playoff chances. Does anybody think they're as good as the 3 wildcard teams? Braves, Padres, and Diamondbacks? You have to pass one of those teams to get in. And then throw in the smoking hot Mets and Pirates, who are now ahead of them in the standings. My glass is not half empty. It's almost drained. Facing the Mets today, Victor Scott went 0 for 3 at the plate, but he went 1 for 1 when it came to sensational catches. Why did the Cardinals trade Harrison Bader? He's hitting .271 with a .712 OPS. He's better than any Cardinals center fielder. That's an RBI double off Andre Palante, and it was 2-0 Mets. It didn't get any better for Palante. Tyrone Taylor will knock in 3 with a base-clearing double, and the Mets go on to shred the Cardinals 6-0.
This 5 on your side St. Louis City SC coverage is sponsored by Together Credit Union.
City SC acquires new players like Kelly Jackson buys shoes. Often, the latest to come to town is defender Henry Kessler from the New England Revolution. City gave up Tim Parker to get him. Kessler grew up playing soccer in the heart of New York City. What was that like?
There's not a lot of field space. So what they did is they built piers into the Hudson River and the East River to, make field space. And it was really fun. There's always a game going on. I would probably say it's either the biggest sport in the city or the second biggest behind basketball.
That will do it for sports. We'll be back after the break.
The action from Paris continues in just a few minutes with the gold medal games for men's and women's 3-on-3 basketball. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., the U.S. women's volleyball team faces off against Poland in their quarterfinal match. At noon, surfing wraps up in Tahiti, and track and field will air in prime time.
All right, here is your invite. Be sure to join Scotty and me this Thursday for an Olympics watch party. We've teamed up with the St. Louis Sports Commission to host the event during downtown summer nights in Keener Plaza. There will be a large viewing screen, food trucks, and more. It's this Thursday from 5 until 8.
And Scott has a final check of our very hot weather tomorrow.
Yeah, fortunately, it's not tomorrow evening we're outside.
Thank goodness.
It's Thursday evening. It'll be much nicer tomorrow. Yes, it's the weather impact alert because we have the heat and humidity building about the same temperature-wise, but the humidity is a little higher, which pushes the heat index tomorrow afternoon up towards 105 to 108 degrees.
There you have it, 5 on your side at 10. NBC's Olympics coverage continues next with Late Night in Paris.
And be sure to join Ready Not live from Paris during Today in St. Louis. That starts at 4 a.m.